have time or we use unhealthy ingredients. So we're going to learn ways to increase the fiber in our diet with food instead of medicines, okay? So we're going to do a regular oatmeal. It's old-fashioned oatmeal. And we're going to do it in the microwave just because it doesn't take very long. And that way we can use different flavors and we can experiment a little bit with it. So, with oatmeal, doesn't matter what kind, but the old-fashioned oatmeal is the best for you and it's the easiest to work with. So that's the one I recommend. It's always a 1-to-2 ratio. So I'm going to take a half a cup of oatmeal. And I'm going to take 1 cup of water. And I'm going to give it a little bit of a stir. Just to make sure all the oats are wet. And then I'm just going to use just a little hint of salt. Not very much at all. Oatmeal doesn't taste very good without it, but it doesn't need a lot. And then here's the trick with cooking oatmeal in the microwave. Every microwave is a little bit different. So I had to kind of experiment beforehand to see how long it would take to cook the oatmeal. And I found this microwave to be about 2 minutes. Your microwave at home might be closer to 1.5. You just have to experiment with it. And you want to use a big enough bowl because the oatmeal does bubble up and expand. So you want to make sure you leave room in the top of your glass so that it doesn't make a mess in your microwave. Because I'm sure, like everybody else, you don't like cleaning the microwave any more than I do. So I've got it in the microwave and it's about 2 minutes. Okay? So while that's cooking, I'm going to kind of keep an eye on it so it doesn't boil over. What I'm going to do while that's cooking is I'm going to show you the different flavors we're going to try today. We're going to try some eggs with salsa. For those clients that are diabetic and they have to watch their carbohydrates, we can use the oatmeal almost like a bread and put the fried eggs or the scrambled eggs with some salsa on top of it. A slice of avocado would top that off really well, but I didn't have one at home to bring today. But that has a lot of healthy, good fats in it, so that's a good option. Here we have a raspberry Chia Jam that I made with some raspberries from my own garden that I had in the freezer. So it's a little tart, but that's okay. Those of you that have clients that might have something like diverticulitis or IBS, you might want to shy away from the seeds. So the chia seed might not be the best option for them. That's something you might want to check with their doctor if they do have those issues. But raspberries are definitely one that you probably want to stay away from. We also have strawberries, and then we're going to top that off with a Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt is a little thicker than regular yogurt, and plain is best. Again, if you have a diabetic client, you've got to watch those carbs and you've got to watch those sugars. So we're going to use that creaminess from the Greek yogurt, which is higher in protein, to give that oatmeal the creamy texture that we're looking for. We're also going to try a pumpkin pie spice. I brought applesauce, but apples work great too. I just didn't want them to turn brown. We're going to try a blueberry and banana. We're going to make some oatmeal that's with the carrot cake ingredients, believe it or not. Pineapple, so it's more like a pina colada. And then we're going to do peanut butter and chocolate. So we've got a lot of different versions that we're going to try today. So my microwave just beeped and I'm going to check my oatmeal. And as you can see, it looks a little fluffy on the top, but it's a little watery underneath. That's okay. Because what we're going to do is we're just going to let that sit for a few minutes and it's going to thicken up all on its own. So you stir it a little bit and then just let it sit for a little bit. Now, before we add the toppings to our oatmeals to try, we're going to add some really good sources of fiber. So not only are we getting fiber from the foods that we put on top of it, but we're going to add some chia seeds and some ground flaxseed. Now, The reason I'm doing ground flaxseed is because if you don't have any issues with bowel issues, you don't have to worry about trying to digest them. They don't digest very well until they're ground into a powder. So what we're going to do is when we're done with the oatmeal, we're going to add a teaspoon of flaxseed to the top of each one. Flaxseed does not have any flavor, so this is going to give it the fiber boost that we're looking for, and the clients won't be able to taste it in there, which is actually really great because then you can't tell them that it has a funky flavor. My kids never knew when they were eating it. They still don't. Also, what we're going to add are what these are called Chia Seeds. And I didn't have very many left at home, but they come in a big tub. They look like little pebbles. These are a nutritional power source. They are so good for you. They are full of omega-3s, they're full of protein, they're full of antioxidants. We have a virus going around right now, so we need as many antioxidants in our diet as we can get. So the chia seeds are a power source for all those nutrients that we're looking for. So what we're going to do is we're going to sprinkle a little teaspoon on top of each one. And you'll notice as you let them sit and the oatmeal will absorb them. I'm just leaving it sit on top right now. But eventually they start to expand and they kind of look like a gel when they're done expanding. But we're just going to sprinkle that right on top, okay? Another good option, I'm not going to put it on today, but this is what is called hemp seeds or hemp hearts. And I'm just going to pour a few out into a plate so you can kind of see what they look like. They're really high in protein and omega-3s also. So if you have a client that has high diverticulitis or something where they can't have the seeds, hemp hearts are a really good source of protein and fiber also, but they're more digestible. So you won't have the same stomach issues, okay? So we'll look and see how our oatmeal's doing. See how it's thickening up? And that's really good because that gives it the nice consistency we're looking for. If you have a client that likes their oatmeal a little bit drier, you can always cut back on the water and make it a little thicker. If they like it creamier, you could substitute milk instead of water. It's really whatever your clients want to do. So that's ready to go in the bowl and be served. Now, I took these and made them ahead of time just because it was easier, but you can actually make a scrambled egg in the microwave. I just took one egg, and I scrambled it with my fork. I put just a splash of water in there, and then I cover it with a paper towel because, believe it or not, eggs make a mess. And it's only about a minute to a minute and a half in the microwave, and then you can season it how you want. I'm not going to do that right now because I did it ahead of time. So what we can do with this oatmeal, for those clients that, again, have diabetes and have to watch their sugars, we can get some fiber and some antioxidants by adding the egg. So we can either add the fried egg to the side and make it kind of like a sandwich, or we can do the scrambled egg and then just top it off with a little bit of salsa. Just like that. And again, if you have an avocado, that would be a fantastic garnish for this oatmeal, okay? This next one is raspberry chia seeds. And I made this with some raspberries from my garden, and all it was a pound of fresh raspberries, I used frozen, a tablespoon of pure maple syrup, 2 tablespoons of chia seed, and 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. And I just cooked it on the stove and made this really nice jam. So again, we could use this on our oatmeal, but we're going to learn a couple of other different options of oatmeal today, and you can use it in that. A lot of the clients like yogurt, but the pre-sugared yogurts are actually really high in sugar. So it's better to buy the plain and add your own fruit to it. So you could take a plain yogurt like this one and make this jam and have a really nice, tasty snack with some Greek yogurt and raspberries. Getting ahead of myself. So now we're going to go to the next variety, which is strawberry. And we're just going to put a few strawberries on top and a little dollop of some Greek yogurt. And we have a strawberries and cream version. The next one is pumpkin pie. So I'm going to just sprinkle a little pumpkin pie spice on top. If you don't have pumpkin pie spice, use cinnamon. Cinnamon is actually a really good ingredient to help control blood sugars, and it helps with insulin control. So adding cinnamon to yogurts, to cereals, to breads is really good way to get some of that in your system. And then, like I said, you could chop up an apple. I just brought applesauce because it's easier. Now, here's a little side note on fruits. You always want to try to eat fresh first, then frozen, and then canned. Those are the most nutritious order that you should be eating fruits in. Now, I did bring some pre-packaged canned fruits today. So you want to really try to find something that is unsweetened and natural. So this is natural applesauce. It only has ascorbic acid in to keep it from turning brown. There's no sugar in it at all, other than the sugar that is naturally occurring in the apple. Okay? And then something like pineapple. I brought the label today so you could see. But you want to make sure you check the label. If you're eating something from a container, make sure that it says in 100% juice. You don't want it to be in a light syrup or in a syrup. Those words will be on the label. When it's in its own juices, it's the healthiest way to eat a canned fruit. Okay? So that was a little sidetrack there on the order of fruits. So the next version we're going to try is blueberry banana. So we're just going to sprinkle a few blueberries on there. And then we're just going to put a few bananas around the outside. And we've got a really healthy version of oatmeal. The next one is carrot cake. I love carrot cake. It's one of my favorite things. So when I can incorporate it into other foods, I just get really excited about it. So this is just some shredded carrot. I made a whole bunch of it ahead of time. And then some craisins. Dropped one here. Now you can use just regular raisins. Again, dried fruit has the most sugar in it, so you want to use the least amount of dried fruit as you can. It's good for you, but it doesn't have as much, it has too much sugar in it, so you have to watch it. Now, these are pepitas, and if you've never had a pepita before, it's the inside of a pumpkin seed. I am allergic to nuts, so I can't eat regular nuts, but I can eat seeds. So I usually add the pepitas to whatever I'm eating, or just eat them like I do any other nut. But they are really high in magnesium, which actually is really good for helping people who are constipated, believe it or not. And they're really high in iron, so it's a great source of iron for those of us that are a little bit on the anemic side. The next version is pineapple. And if you have shredded coconut at home, you can go ahead and put a little bit of coconut on there too. I didn't have any at home and I didn't want to buy a whole bag just for today, so I thought I would just explain it, but you can get unsweetened. That's the secret on that one. Don't get sweetened coconut, get unsweetened, okay? And then the last version, if you're not allergic to nuts, some clients aren't able to eat peanut butter because it sticks in their throat. So this is a good way to get peanut butter in the diet, because what you can do is you can add it when it's still warm and the peanut butter actually melts. And what I think it tastes like warm peanut butter cookie dough, and I think it's fantastic. So you can go ahead and put the peanut butter in there when it's warm. My oatmeal is getting cold, so it's not spreading around like it should. But you can go ahead and put the peanut butter in there, and then I'm going to go ahead and just sprinkle a little bit of dark chocolate on there. Dark chocolate, believe it or not, is full of antioxidants also. So in small amounts and unsweetened, it's a great little kick to get some antioxidants into your oatmeal, okay? How do they look, guys? Do they look good? I know you can't talk, but... All right, so to top that all off, there are naturally occurring sugars in a lot of these foods. For example, there's actually sugar in the peanut butter. If you read the label, it's the second ingredient. So you don't really need to add a lot of sugar to sweeten these. Your salsa one isn't going to want to be sweetened anyway because you're making it like a sandwich. But the rest of these already have natural sugars in them. If you have a client that says it's not sweet enough, you can also, like ahead of time, cook the oatmeal with the craisins in it so that the sugars get a better chance of absorbing into the water and into the oatmeal. Same thing with an apple. If I had an apple instead of applesauce, I could put the applesauce or the apple in it while it's cooking, and that pulls more of those natural sugars out of the fruit, okay? So that's an option. Otherwise, I like to keep sugars natural. So what you really want to look for is pure maple syrup. Not the artificial sweetened kind, not the fake kind, the real thing. And what you're going to do is when you're done, you're just going to take a little bit of maple syrup and you're just going to drizzle that on the top. And if you get certain kinds of maple syrup, there's grade A and there's grade B. Different grades of maple syrup actually have a lot more nutrients in, so you can read up on that also. Otherwise, another good option is 100% pure natural honey. Again, with those diabetics, you got to watch those sugars. But our body really wants good nutrient-dense food. And so this is a good way to get the flavor and the little bit of sweetness without all the chemicals. And you might be wondering, gosh, why do we want to eat so much fiber? Fiber actually helps your body get rid of all the toxins that are in your system. So when we go to the bathroom, that's our body getting rid of some of those things that we don't want. Now, some of us might take fiber supplements, and that's okay if your doctor tells you to do that. But we can increase our fiber and help our bodies do that themselves. So like the chia seed, for example, when it's soaking, it expands, and it's doing that in your body. It's grabbing onto that stuff that your body doesn't want, and it's basically flushing your system of the stuff that you don't need, okay? Now, if you're taking a supplement like Metamucil or Fiber One, there's some of those that are out there. How they work is when they get wet, it pulls moisture from your intestines and then they expand, and that's how it gets out of your system. So it's an artificial way for your body to do what it naturally wants to do. So we're trying to increase fiber by adding some really healthy options to our foods, okay? Now, this is really a minute and a half, and then your toppings. What you could do with your clients, and it's just a good idea, is I like to do my food prep on the weekends. So what I would suggest, if time is an issue in the morning, is on a weekend, you could take a little baggie and your seeds. I don't want to use my teaspoon right now because I got maple syrup all over it and it's going to get all over. But you could take your chia seeds and your oatmeal and your flaxseed, and on a weekend you could make 5 days worth of oatmeal packets, so that all your client would have to do in the morning is take a glass bowl like this one and add 1 cup of water or milk and throw it in the microwave. And then they're ready to go. Then they can do it themselves, okay? And then you can just have different toppings available to them all week long. Another option I like to do is called overnight oatmeal. And it's essentially the same thing. You just put all of the ingredients in a jar or a glass bowl, like so. And your flaxseed. And your chia seed. And you can do whatever flavor you want. I brought some milk to show. But you put it in a jar, and let's do strawberry. We're going to throw a little bit of strawberry in there, and we're going to throw a little bit of Greek yogurt in there. And then I'm going to add some pumpkin pie spice, just for fun. This is how I cook at home. I don't measure, just so you know. I'm going to do my maple syrup. Like so. Anything else I could add in there? It looks pretty good as it is. So what I'm going to do with that is just give it a stir. Like so. And it doesn't look like much now. But what you do is you do the same ingredients you just did there, and whatever flavors you want, you can experiment and have fun with it. But once you get it mixed together, you just put a jar lid on it, and you put it in the refrigerator, and in 4 hours, it's ready to eat. You don't have to warm it up. The oatmeal absorbs all of the milk, and it gets nice and soft. It's just like it's been cooked. The chia seeds expand, and then the sugars that are in the fruits get absorbed into it, and you have a lunch in a jar. I bring this for lunch almost every day. So this is another great option. If you need recipes for that, all you have to do is go online and look up overnight oats. There's several different versions of oats out there. If you have clients that need a little bit more protein in their diet, I like to use protein powder because I work out a lot. So I add a scoop of protein powder to my oatmeals. I also add sometimes some collagen peptides, which also has a lot of protein in. So those are some options that you could check with your clients' doctors or yourselves and just try that and see if you like that. But that just sits in the fridge overnight and it's ready to go. The last thing I'm going to share with you today is chia pudding. Now this isn't oatmeal, but it's like it. So basically it's the same ingredients, only in a jar like so. It's a half a cup of milk, which this was a half a cup of milk, and 2 tablespoons of chia seeds, and then whatever toppings you want to put in the jar, and you give it a stir, just like I did. Need a fork here. You give it a little bit of a stir. This one is, I made this one yesterday, so it looks like pudding. This one happens to be strawberry, and I put some dark chocolate chips in there. Dark chocolate is actually really good for you. So I mixed strawberry and chocolate because this was going to be my dessert with my lunch today. So this is another option for your client for either to bring with snack time or for breakfast. You could have chia pudding and maybe a slice of toast with some nut butters on it or something. So those are your different varieties. And we talked a little bit about the significance of fiber and why we want to try to incorporate some of these foods into our diets. Do we want to do a question and answer period? I don't know how to do that, so. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you do have questions, you can just always look me up on email and send them my way. There was a link to the video that you could watch that I got the idea from, so we can also send that with the information on the follow-up. But I really appreciate everybody joining us today, and I hope you have fun trying your oatmeal lab.